Hello, everyone there. Just realised I haven't tidied my space here. Never mind, it's a bit dark, so hopefully you can't see it. Yeah, well, here we are, 9/11 today, 11/9. Hello, there's someone there. Great. If you want to say hi, can you hear me okay, etc.? Yes, so it's starting to get a bit darker here in the UK, and autumn is drawing in. It's lovely to smell autumn after that heat of the last few weeks. It was only a few weeks ago that heat was incredible, and now it's lovely and autumny and misty. There's a poem there I remember from school. So anyway, right. Well, today this is part of the Q&A live sessions. Hi, Wendy. Hi. So this is part of the EDM Academy, and what we're doing now, we've upgraded the EDM Academy offerings, so it's very exciting. There are 6 courses that will teach you everything about yourself, who you are, feelings, emotions, imagination, etc., your environment, the mind. These 6 courses will tell you everything you need to know about yourself, and they are on sale. You can buy all of them for only £80. That's 5 courses. They're £20 each. But also, if you're interested, you can just drop me an email or visit my website and ask for the free welcome pack, and you will receive the first course for free. And you can download the files and keep them on your computer forever. So this is a new offering from us. So you have these files forever. And then when you do want to do an actual online course, if you want to, I can send you a link, and then you jump onto the online course format, and then you can learn happily away. But the files that I send you, you can keep forever, and there's lots of extra resources in there too. Some films I've made, other videos, interviews, etc., worksheets, all sorts. So all ready for the next academic year, which starts now. And then if you have any questions, if you want to do the courses, then you just jump on. I do YouTube lives either on a Saturday or Sunday about this time. Maybe sometimes I might do it on a Friday, and you can just email me any questions and I'll answer them on this video. And or you could actually jump in like Wendy has and communicate through that. So this lighting's not very good, is it? But never mind. So I'm just going to see who texted me, because it might have been someone who... Yes, Julie. Hello, Julie. Julie's there too. Hi, Julie. I'm just going to text her back. Julie's doing this on a phone, so I can't write. And it also says there's only one person watching, so I don't know about that. Now, if you have no questions, that's great, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about something that I have actually been talking about in real life generally, which I'm hoping you'll find interesting, and you can ask me questions on the back of that if you like. So I've called this "Let It All Unfold." Let it all unfold. Now, when you've learned what this is really interesting, and I did a Facebook post about this the other day. Before you are aware of yourself in the way that the EDM Academy teaches you, before that, basically everything appears to be about you. So your immediate focus is you. What you're feeling, your emotions, everything. It's all you. It's just you. And when you're in a situation, the situation is in you. It's all one big blob. And I illustrated that by taking a picture of me against the curtain, because all you could see was me. And that's what the experience of life is like before you've learned about the EDM Academy. All right. And that's just a fact. What happens is once you actually see how you work, how you operate, what your energy dynamic is, because this is what the energy dynamic model academy does. It teaches you how to identify your own energy dynamic, and your energy dynamic is how you are unconsciously working. And once you realize how you're working, you're although it is unconscious and it will still do that, you become conscious of it, and you can then take actions to make your energy dynamic shift into what I call a positive feeler. Most people are stuck in their mind dynamic or their spirit dynamic, and hence their life experience is of a certain nature. Um, but if we know what our energy dynamic is, we can then work quite hard actually to change it to a positive feeler, right? Um, Now, once you start to do that, it's very interesting because something quite strange happens. Everything stops being about you, and you become in you almost. So you then start to see your situation not as separate because you're in it, but you can start to see it and you have clarity. And then the way I illustrated this was then I drew the curtain and then you can see outside and there's a world out there. There's a world out there. And the way you found that world is by understanding who you are, what you are, and how you operate, which sounds counterintuitive, but but that's how it works. The more you're aware of yourself, the more you can actually experience and see what's happening around you as an unfolding of events. If you're not aware of yourself, it's almost like you have no boundary and you're all one big kind of mass of stuff that's just going around and around. And people can become very selfish and egocentric because that's all they have really to deal with it, their rational mind and their emotional mind. But once you become aware of that and realize that your rational mind and your emotions are only probably a quarter of how you experience life, everything changes. And what changes is you suddenly start to see life. You suddenly start to see life as things happening around you, and that can become very, very peaceful because you stop struggling to control, you stop struggling to make everything about you, you stop you experience internal peace. It takes a while, mind you, and one reason why you experience internal peace is because you understand your own mind, and your mind. Oh, hi, someone else has joined. Great. um, you can ask any questions. I'm just talking about the general let everything unfold. So once you yeah, sorry, I lost my drift slightly there. Where was I? So yeah, so once you are not in conflict with yourself and your mind is quiet, and one of the things that the EDM Academy does is teach you how to see yourself, as I mentioned, imagination, mind, who you are, feels, emotions. And once you realize the relationship you have with your own mind and you start to work with your mind calms down. You start to communicate with yourself and you become more peaceful. And then you can start to see everything else around you, because if you have a noisy mind and you're not communicating with your mind, it overwhelms you. And that's why your experience of life is so noisy and difficult, and you have to control it, because your mind is like what you're dealing with. Your mind is dealing with the outside, and then you're having to deal with the mind. Whereas once you start to understand yourself and you and your mind are working in harmony, you then deal with the unfolding life, and your mind just processes the information. So maybe that's a better way of explaining it. It's like you have a direct experience of life unfolding instead of you having to deal with your mind trying to control it. That's what happens. So the way you do that is to do all 6 courses. I recommend doing the first 3 first and then the last 3 second, even though the last 3 are about the mind. Because the mind is often what people want to get to. And to be honest with you, you need to understand how you work yourself before we actually go to the mind. So there's a little bit of hard work to do first of all. But once we've mastered that and we then start to work with our mind, everything calms down. And as I said, the mind starts to be the processor and you start to directly experience the world, right? You become more in the world instead of being up in the mind trying to control all this random stuff and on all these emotions which are just going everywhere and freaking you out sometimes. So this video is about let it unfold. And so what we need to do, we need to get into that state of being, which I'll talk about in a minute, but then we need to let life unfold around us. And it becomes really quite exciting because we are no longer in control mode. So we've handed over control. We don't need to control anymore because we are okay, and we make sure that we're safe. This is how we need to be. This is our stick self. I'm not going to go into this because this is all the courses, the first 2 courses. But this is our stick self. This is how we feel. So we need to make sure that we can actually be okay in the situation we're in. All right. So we need to learn about that. But let's say we are okay in the situation we're in. We then need to just stand there. And we need to let it unfold. And we need to realize that we can do anything in that situation. So I'll give you an example. So I'm sitting here talking to you on this computer in my room. Now, there's many things I could do when I stop talking. I could walk out my door. I could open the curtains. I could eat my tea. I could turn my lamp on. I could read. I could write. I could have a shower. That's at least 10 possibilities. And I can do any of them. And once you realize that, it's quite amazing. Every second, every minute offers you loads of possibilities. And all you have to do is to choose which one. It's all you have to do. What you don't have to do is control the situation so that one thing you want to do next happens. So let me explain that again. After I stop doing this, I can look around my room and I can do many things. I could walk out the door, I could open a window, I can draw the curtains, I could have tea. I can choose which one to do, and then I do it in a kind and humble way. What I don't have to do is to pick one and control the situation so that happens. And that's what so many people do. So many people think they have to control the situation so that what they want happens. What you will find is that if you study the EDM Academy classes and courses, what you will find is that actually, if you actually stand there and let it unfold, you just will be able to do that choice anyway, without any of you having to control it. And even better, you will be able to see so many more of the possibilities. And even better than that, you will have so much more energy, because all the energy that you would have used up by fizzing away in your head, trying to control everything, is still in you. And that's so important. So I'll illustrate. So here, this white thing is where the mind lives, right? So if we're up here trying to make this control our environment, all the energy is just going around, fizzing. Yes, absolutely, like going through and flow. Absolutely. Let it unfold around you. But you need to identify what your flow is. And the way you identify what your flow is by understanding your stick self and understanding what you need in that situation, right? So I'll come to that in a second. But if we're just in our mind trying to control events, so what we want happens, all our energy goes in here and we get fizzy, right? We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to let that just process, and we're going to let what we know and how we are stand still, and we're going to see it all unfold, and then we're going to jump onto the event that we want to happen next. And that is our own flow, but that will depend on who you are. So for me, and this is why you need to know who you are. And until you know who you are, you don't know what your flow is. And then if you don't know what your flow is, not only do you not know what to do, which is why you have to go in your mind, you also become part of the situation. And that's why you have to control it. So in order to be in your flow, you need to understand this, who you are, and you need to be able to see and experience your environment as something that is unfolding. And I'll talk a bit about that in a minute. But before I do that, so back to my example. So I'm sitting in my room now. And as I said, I can do many things. I could open the curtain, I could go out the window, I could go out the door, I can have tea. What I do depends on who I am. It depends on who I am. It depends on what state of being I am in at that moment. But all are possible. And that would be going with my flow. So if what was possibly on the radar was meeting my mate down the pub, then the next thing I maybe do after this is I can look around my situation and think, well, actually, I can action going out the door because I'm meeting my friend down the pub. I don't have to control that. I just do that in a kind and humble way. And I make sure that I've done everything beforehand to make that possible, because it's your responsibility. And this is what this is important. If you take responsibility for what your flow needs to have in order for you to become like this and ride the wave and let everything unfold and be your best you, to coin a phrase, you need to be responsible for that. You need to make sure you've done everything you possibly can to make me, for example, get out that door okay. So I need to make sure that I've got a babysitter for my child if I have a child. I need to make sure I've got enough money in my purse. I need to make sure I'm wearing the right clothes. I need to make sure there's petrol in my car. So you need to make sure that you've done everything you possibly can so you can then go with your best possible flow given the situation. And that's when it starts to get, actually, I would use the word magic, but a lot of the magic is you, because you need to fill yourself up. So you are this big. So then when you do jump into the situation that is there, you can do it properly and you're not rushing, stressing, etc. You need to think, right, what are the facts? What are the facts? Given who I am, wouldn't it be great tomorrow to do X, Y, and Z? Wouldn't that be great? So what do I have to do today? Not to make that happen, because that is going to happen, but to make sure when that does happen, I jump on it and I do the best I can. And that's when you start to become responsible for yourself. And me, for example, if I want to go out tomorrow and have a nice time with my parents, what I don't do is go out and get completely hammered tonight, because I'll feel dreadful. I know that sounds obvious, but I'm just making an extreme situation to make a point. You see, if I did do that, then I would start to have to control the situation, because I wouldn't be able to do it. And my possibilities would have gone from that to that. Because of my action, I've narrowed my possibilities. And I could have gone out, I could have done this, I could have done that, but my possibilities get smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's another thing. If we're not like this, if we're not stick self feeling good, if we're not like that, we have very few opportunities. And that's actually possibly why people then have to try and control them, because they only have one or two possibilities. So that has got to happen. Whereas if you're in a state of being where you're pretty good, you can do many, many things. So if you've got any questions, just write them down. Otherwise, I'm going to go on to the next step on that one. Don't know if anyone has. Not sure why this is. I think there's 3 people watching, but it only says there's 2, so I don't quite know why that is. Okay. Oh, great so far. Oh, fab. Okay, so I carry on then. No questions. It's a way of formulating any future wishes for your life too. It is now. It is now. Now, if you know me at all, I've got another question. This is great. Thank you. This is working well. This is work. See, one lady is texting me. No questions. Okay, thank you. Because you can always text me too. This is great. This is great. I do love doing this. Even though I was a bit late because I was making tea. So I was slightly making my options smaller, and I nearly had to control the situation because I hadn't made the right steps in order to manifest this. Not that I like that word, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I've just got to sort out these. Actually, I can't do that at the moment. Right, hold on. I just got to clear this because my text is full, and I want them to be right. Okay. Yes. So back to right. So, way of formulating any future wishes for your life too. Yes. Now, law of attraction, manifestation, etc., etc. Now, I personally, EDM Academy, we do not like this. We do not manifest everything. Things are there or not there. But what we do is we do create our own experience of life, given who we are and our feelings. Right now, things happen to us all the time, and that's life. Right, things happen all the time. But it is up to us as how we deal with it in a kind and humble way. I mean, it is, especially if we're adults, it is. So a lot of it is about who we surround ourselves with, what we do in our time, etc., etc. That does create our experience of life. So if something happens, then depending on who we are, and we can have lots of these little power towers, depending on who we are, it will affect us all very, very differently. And a lot of that is who you are, your stick. Sometimes we can't do much about that, but what we can do is learn what our stick self is, so the next time it happens we can maybe deal with it better. All right, so yeah, sorry, that's distracted me. So things are there or not there, so we don't manifest them, but what we can do is know who we are, know what our power needs are, and then given that, and I know a couple of you have been doing a lot of work on this, and myself, given that, what situation will enable me to thrive? What situation will enable me to thrive? And once you have an idea, we're not manifesting, we have an idea of what that situation is that will enable us to thrive, we then go about action steps to see if we can get closer to it, which is exactly what Wendy's just said. That's a way of formulating any future wishes for your life. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but then it doesn't matter, because often what will happen is, if you've worked hard towards something, like, for example, I wanted to come to England to look after my parents. 3 years on, I actually have somewhere stable to live. That's 3 years on. I didn't really do anything except whatever situation I was in, I stuck to this. And it was an up and down ride. It was an up and down ride. But I'm okay now. And I was okay in the process. I just learned a lot. And I learned a lot. And it was great. And I saw it as an experience. One thing that does happen when you start to be like this is, things aren't so much right or wrong or good or bad. They just are. And depending on everything, you stay in that situation or you don't. If you stay in a situation that's not that good for you, then you need to know what you're doing that for. You need to know what you're doing that for. And if it is a tricky situation, you need to make sure you do everything you can to keep these power needs as high as they can, because you need that energy, right? And that right, I'm going to get to my point in a minute. But if the situation is good, then you stay there, and then you just watch it unfold. And as it unfolds, suddenly everything becomes an experience, and that's really quite liberating. That's quite good. And everything becomes quite amazing, because everything is amazing when you're okay in yourself. Everyone has days when sometimes you're a bit mindy or a bit triggered or whatever, and that's cool. That's cool. You know, that's, I mean, like I felt a bit ill the last few days, and I know why. Probably I know why, and I just have to go with it. Take it easy. I had a nap this afternoon. You know, that's not good or bad. That's just what I have to do today to go with my own flow and let it unfold. Because I'm aware. I am aware of this. I'll talk more in another video if you like of things that have happened to me to illustrate this, because honestly, the last few years has been unbelievable what's happened around me. And it is because I've been going with the flow and having an idea and then sticking to me being a power tower. So the last little point I wanted to make, to be honest, about this is I wanted to make all those points. It's really important, I think. But also to talk about the power of not of keeping this energy, and I am terrible at this, and I'm working on to myself. I'm terrible at this. So these circles represent energy, okay? They represent energy, and this stick is who you are. Now this energy is kind of in you and around you, you know. So I'm sitting here and I'm doing and being this energy, right? But I can just waste it. And the way you waste energy, the way you waste energy is by putting it through your mind. So these feels, I can feel purpose, right? I can feel identity. I can feel meaning, right? That's in me. That's a feeling. I can't speak that. It's a feel. I can know it. But sometimes what you can do, especially when it's about the future, what you can do, and I'm terrible at this, and I'm working on this, is you can change this feel that I know into a mind generated energy, which is different. And you don't kind of put it outside you. You put it outside you. And once it goes outside you, it's gone. So you've lost a little bit of this, a little bit, not much, not major, but a little bit. So I'll tell you an example. So if I know I want to be a policeman, what I need to do is I need to know what I need to be in order to achieve that and keep these up and make sure I'm in situations that are going to be good for that. Make sure I do everything I can in order to be able to physically get there, mentally do it, etc., right? And that will take passion, dedication, and focus on doing and being, and patience. And I need to feel that. It's the strong silent type, the power of silence, because you keep it in you. You keep your good stuff in you, and because your good stuff is in you, your situations tend to have more opportunities in them. But I could waste that knowing and being feeling by turning it into a mind construct of emotional energy and tell everyone before it's happened. I'm terrible at this. I could turn it into a positive thinking, law of attraction, speaking in the mirror 10 times a day. And one way that weakens you is that if you're asking for it, you haven't got it. So if I'm asking for, let me have a good day, I'm having a good day, and you're not. You're telling yourself something that's not true, which will cause conflict between mind and feel, which will start up that mindy thing, conflict again. So then we'll just go back to square one. And also the energy that you know and be and feel will have gone because it's gone in the mind, which is normally about the future or the past. Because if you're speaking something, you're not doing it. So, for example, love. I know people say I love you, and it's nice when people say I love you. That's nice. But it's just a word. You feel it too. Love is a feel. And you probably notice when people say I love you, often it's when they have an argument. So they want to say, I love you. I mean, do they? What I'm trying to say is when you speak something, you don't necessarily have it. When you speak something, you become aware of something that's missing. Like, can I have a cup of tea? I'm aware I would like a cup of tea, so I speak it, so I need it. So I'm working on this myself. Be careful with words, not because they're positive or negative. I don't mean in that way, but just realize that whenever you speak anything, you're actually taking away feels and possibly turning that real strong feel energy into a weaker mind, future fizziness that doesn't operate in the same way. And it will take you into the future and the past, which means you can't really own your present. But this is really hard, but it's just something what I wanted to talk about because I don't think I've ever talked about that before. But I have noticed it, especially about myself. Um, so it's basically keep your mouth shut unless it's important, which is my dear Les used to always tell me I spoke too much. So obviously it's good to talk, but I just been in a way of ideas and stuff, because you can turn that energy to things. As I said, number one, it often sends out a conflicting message because as soon as you speak it, it might not be true, especially if it's affirmations. I mean, they're dreadful in my opinion, absolutely dreadful. You're just saying everything you haven't got, and that's just dreadful. You need to be you and let it unfold, and then choose a good option, basically, and work hard at that. Quite frankly, and if you're not sure what to do about that, then you can always join the EDM Academy and jump onto this, do a course, and ask me a question, and then we go from there, don't we? We don't have to be doing positive affirmations 10 times in a mirror. We really don't. But also, it can basically turn this beautiful, natural, intuitive, golden energy into a weak, kind of noisy. Instead of being noisy in the head, it's noisy out there. Chat, 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 chat. Guess what? Guess what? And sometimes it's much harder to be kind and humble as well. Obviously, I'm not saying don't say anything to anyone, but just be aware of that. Do I really need to say this? If I say this, am I actually taking things away from myself? Am I gossiping? Um, be wise. So that's just what I wanted to say today. So great. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed that. I certainly have. It's great to do this once a week. As I said, really exciting news. Really exciting news. I've nearly updated all the files for the EDM Academy, which means everyone who's paid for a course will get a link very shortly, probably by the end of the week, hopefully, to the courses they've bought that they can then download their files and keep on their computers forever. And if you are interested or a student of the EDM Academy, then you're perfectly entitled to email me, and I will send you the first one free, the core motivational training with some extra bits, extra old videos, and then it's all groovy. So I'm really pleased to be able to offer this. So everything EDM Academy you can get now, and just by pressing a button, and there you are. So thank you all very much. Thank you for coming to have a listen, and I'll see you all soon, and take care. Bye-bye for now.